and welcome to Speakers on Edge. We're doing 15 minutes of fame, and today we have someone, well, a voice of vision with a message that matters that's Emmy nominated.
Hi.
Ashunta, who are you?
How are you, Jay? Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Who are you?
So I'm Ashunta Sheriff-Kendricks, and I am a celebrity makeup artist, two-time Emmy nominated for the work that I did on Empire. Just that small little Fox show that ran and made history. But I'm also the founder of Ashunta Sheriff Beauty, and we're a vegan, cruelty, paraben-free brand that focuses on ageless beauty because we're not dead.
Let me just pick my jaw up off the floor. Now, I know, having read your bio, that you've okay, here you are, this incredible professional.
Yes,
But life wasn't always like that, was it?
No, I mean, it started off different. I'm born and raised from Harlem, New York City. And, when I grew up, it was late 70s. So, New York City hadn't gone through the changes that it's gone through to be a safer city. And that may be questionable to people today, but it was definitely really crazy when I was growing up. And drugs were heavily prevalent throughout Harlem. And so my parents, both of my parents were from Mississippi, came to New York City. My dad was in the military. And, they did everything they could to make sure that they gave me opportunities and put me into programs and just made sure that I was not hanging out in the street, and not getting into, falling into the bad crowd that was out there. And so from doing all of the different creative arts that I did, from dancing and singing and drama and theater, that led me to doing makeup during one musical in high school. I was actually unable to play the lead. I auditioned and didn't get in, basically. And so I said, they needed volunteers. And I said, you know what, I'll volunteer. There was always volunteers needed for different things: stage hands, costuming, this, that, and the other. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to do the makeup. I was always really naturally good at makeup. I had danced since I was younger and done a lot of recitals. So any girl knows that when they're doing recitals, makeup is involved. And so I then said, I'm going to do this makeup thing. And I actually really liked it. And I didn't really think about it. I went on to college, went to Howard University, HU, I got to throw that out there to all the Bisons. And then when I came home from Howard University, after going through a really huge traumatic event in my life, my first love basically was incarcerated. And that was like a big deal for me because we kind of had our lives mapped out. I know how far is your life mapped out at 20, right? But at that time, we really thought, we would be spending our lives together. We were both college students and we just really had the same interests and likes and ideas about our future. And then he went to jail. Yeah. And then when he went to jail, I got really unfocused and depressed. And so my mom basically just kidnapped me, brought me home. She was like, you're not going to classes. You're not doing the work. I was in my junior year at Howard University. And so I came home one day, unbeknownst to me, and there was a U-Haul truck sitting right in front of my apartment building. And the rest is really history. Once I packed that truck up and came back home to New York, I did odds and ends, temp jobs here and there, worked at Ricky's, started working at Mac. In the 90s, started on Spring Street, which is one of the most famous locations from Mac's history, which is Mac Cosmetics. And then started doing backstage work at New York Fashion Week. Then started working with people like Laura Mercier and Pat McGrath and Vince Alongo, who are like all huge makeup artists at the time that I got to assist with at their various shows from New York to Paris to London Fashion Weeks. And then I started doing music videos, and that's when life really changed for me. And my first client was Diddy. Yeah, it was P. Diddy. And so Diddy would be the first client that I had, where I was a male groomer. And for your audience who doesn't know that, that's basically, making sure like Jay's head doesn't shine. I make sure I put the powder on his head to make sure that he's not shining if he's on stage, and make sure he doesn't have any bags under his eyes. It's not a whole bunch of makeup, so calm down, people. But it's just those refining those things so that someone looks good on camera, and that's what men need. And so I was doing a lot of that, and that led me to work with Usher, with Jay-Z, with Roy Jones Jr., with Michael Jordan, with Nike campaigns. And then from that, I landed on Alicia Keys. And that's when things really changed. All of that was 5 years, what I just said. That was 5 years of just me grinding, working hard, doing music videos, taking every job, never turning it down. I wasn't always paid. Sometimes I got stiffed on money, sometimes things were free. But every opportunity really was a staircase. And that's how I look at it. It was literally a staircase leading me to where I am now, which is a two-time Emmy award winning, Emmy nominated. Look at me manifesting, manifesting. Two-time nominated Emmy award winner. And so, at the end of the day, so much has happened in my career that's just been awesome from those hiccups.
I have to pick my jaw back up off the floor again because here you are. These names are household names that you've been around. And for most people, it's how. So
How?
how did you if somebody is watching today who wants to get into that sort of industry, how do you think they should start?
Well, the first step now in today's industry, you really want to start with social media. It's different than when I became a makeup artist. It required you having a real portfolio of work, and it required you having a website, where your work could be seen as well. It also possibly needed a manager and an agent at that time because you had to have someone kind of manage your schedule and also be the person to market your work to new clients, new potential clients. And so having those kind of relationships were important then. But in this current industry where it is, you can literally toss up an Instagram page, create high quality content, and you will end up getting clients. I've seen it with my own eyes. It's a game changer because Instagram, for example, which has become really the go-to place, I think, for people to source hair and makeup or even fashion styling, nail artists, all kinds of creatives. They find them on Instagram because that quality of work, if it can look high res, like what a celebrity is going to do, if they're stepping in front of the Today Show and they're on camera and it looks that polished and that amazing, you have every opportunity, just as easy as I have with 30 years. You can bypass me. In fact, I've seen plenty of makeup artists and hairstylists who come into this industry in recent times, and they're doing British Vogues, they're doing Paris Fashion Week, and those were things that were not happening for me, for quite some time. So everything happens much more rapidly now, and you have direct access to the celebrity through social media. You can just DM them. Literally, you can tag them on pictures, and it can literally be a game changer for your career and your life.
See, the fun part about social media is, yeah, we can connect quite easily with people. And the skeptics will come out and go, oh, yeah, but you're just talking to their assistant. You're talking to the gatekeeper. But the reality is, in some cases, you're actually talking to the celebrity.
Absolutely. I believe with social media, a lot of celebrities, I'm with them. I see them in their phones and they're in their DMs, they're in their Instagrams, they're posting themselves. And even if there are assistants who are, overseeing and managing the pages, the celebrities are still hands-on with their accounts because why? Even they too have to be more hands-on with their careers than they were in the past. There was a time in the industry where a celebrity could be an enigma, and really be, untouchable, like Prince. And I
Mhm.
believe Prince, in his, how he was so private and being so closed off, wouldn't work in this day and age because this day and age really celebrates um, just peering into people's life, and really feeling like you know them. And so there, that is just a really different business model, even for a celebrity who wants to be extremely private. I know for a fact that I've had clients where they're complaining to me about their social media and managing it because it's overwhelming. It feels like another job, but they literally are like, their managers are telling them, you need to pick up your social media. You need to do this on your social media. So social media is now another job, for the celebrity. So that's why they're so invested into it and really a part of it, and not so hands off as they were maybe 5 years ago, because they monetize from social media. So if I'm not getting a movie, I'm not getting a commercial, and I'm not working, but I'm a A-list actor or even a B or C-list actor. If I got a good amount of following, I can monetize pretty heavy and actually become a social media star. So social media has just created a whole different avenue and a whole different revenue stream, for the celebrity, for the creative talent that works with the celebrity. And so they damn sure are finding us on social.
See, this is why I love doing this show, because our tagline is Voices of Vision with Messages that Matter. And what you have just said is an insight into the industry, into the celebrity industry, that the average person, we do not hear. And this is one of those messages where if you've got a passion, a desire to create something, to make a difference, following your instructions, following your advice, this is number one advice, hands down.
It is.
Absolutely hands down. Was there somebody over your career that gave you a piece of advice that was as powerful as what you've just given today?
Absolutely. For me, being a makeup artist who's worked in the industry for 30 years now, in every facet of it, from Broadway to film to commercial, TV, music video, I would say that I too was someone who was a little bit timid about my posting on social media when, I started to realize what social media was. At first I thought it was just, okay, this is just the magazine of our lives. It's just going to be really pretty pictures, which I had plenty of. I had plenty of really pretty pictures because I worked with amazingly beautiful women in the industry. I had tons of editorial work, tons of advertising work to showcase. But then when I started to see that it was becoming a brand and a business, and it was a little bit more of, we want to know who you are, we want to feel like we're connected to you, and that there was this community aspect to social media, that's when it changed. And I actually started to pull away from it. I started to get a little frustrated, not post as much, not know what to post, feel a little bit almost bewildered about what should I be posting. And it was someone in the industry who came to me, a dear friend, who was just like, do not worry about what you're posting, just post. So that is the best advice that I can actually give anyone starting in the industry, is stop trying to have your magazine edit, ready. Because honestly, social media really welcomes flaws, because they're really looking for real human beings. And that's what the whole connection in terms of community that is happening on social. They want to see that you're badass at what you do and you're creative and talented. But if it's not perfectly packaged, don't worry about that too. Because I've noticed that for me, my content has increased and gotten better with time. Because just like anything, when you start practicing it, you get better. You start finding your niche, you start finding your voice, you start finding your audience, and you really lean in when you find that audience and you speak to them. And so that's my biggest advice. Just post and stop trying to worry about having that perfectly polished, finished, edited piece, because that's stopping you from growing.
And what's next for you?
Wow, a lot is next for me. Where do we begin? I will start with, I am going to New York City, which I'm really excited. November 10th, I'll be a part of Harlem Fashion Rose business discussion they'll be having. They're doing a whole symposium on beauty in partnership with L'Oreal. So me growing up in Harlem and Harlem being my beloved community, I'm really excited to be a part of Harlem Fashion Rose panel to discuss beauty and business. And then Art Basel is coming, and and Art Basel, we're going to be launching Hip Hop Beauty circa 1973. It's curated by myself and Timbisa Shaka, my partner. It's something that took us 10 plus years to make. I'm really excited about it. It's our love letter to hip hop. Hip hop is the thing that saved us both. She's an amazing award-winning producer and journalist, and me, two-time Emmy nominated makeup artist, Emmy winner. um, and so we're really excited to bring this exhibition to Art Basel and bring it to, this high level stage. And then I have a lot of holiday pop-ups coming, so people can come and shop us. I'll be at Navy Pier in Chicago. I'll be at the She Did That Holiday Bazaar in Brooklyn. And then the makeup show. We'll finish out the year at the makeup show. So that's a pretty rounded out calendar for everything that I have going on.
This is amazing. And I want to finish up with what was the kindest moment that happened that would surprise us?
Oh, one of the kindest moments actually took place with Alicia Keys. We were in Cannes Film Festival, and this was her first Cannes Film Festival. Of course, my first Cannes Film Festival. She was wearing Dolce & Gabbana. It was a beautiful, like lemon yellow satin coat with a turquoise monochromatic two-piece satin suit. It was really, really beautiful. Her stylist, Wari Weiss, put her in it. He was her stylist at the time. And I matched her eyeshadow with these colors, turquoise with the lemon yellow, and it was sparkly, it was pretty, it was shiny. I put navy blue into it. And I'm giving you this picture so that you understand why this was one of the most kindest moments. So after she walked the carpet, Italian Vogue, everyone's talking about what everyone had on, how they looked. And I was critiqued by Italian Vogue beauty editor saying Alicia Keys, makeup artist, needs to stay out of the Crayola crayon box. It was an insult. And so I was devastated because, I remember I'm telling you, I was with all those men doing all this male grooming. So this is my first shot to be with a female talent, of this caliber. And, a critique like that from someplace like Italian Vogue could really ruin a young, up and coming makeup artist. Yeah. If Alicia had listened to that information and said, you know what, management, let's replace her because I'm getting a bad critique on my makeup. But she didn't do that. When I came to her and I was like, I'm so sorry. I will never do that. I won't match your colors, with your clothing. And she said, girl, I didn't hire you to do what everyone else does. I hired you because you do you. So continue to do what you do because I love it. And I have no complaint about it. So I will leave the audience with always be your authentic self. Play in bold color if that's what it is. Be boring and neutral if that's what you love. But be your authentic self. And that was one of the kindest moments for me in my career, for sure, because I could have been on the cutting block, for sure.
Wow. This has been a visionary beauty with a voice, sharing a message that truly matters. Be you. Be yourself. Ashunta, I can't wait to see your next Emmy Award-winning nomination and you winning it. Thank you so much for being on the show. Where can people find you?
Everyone can find us, the brand, at www.ashuntabeauty.com. And then they can also follow me on social media at Ashunta Sheriff-Kendricks and Ashunta Sheriff Beauty on both Instagram and TikTok. It's the same.
That's fantastic. And we'll also have your photo on our Speakers on Edge 15 Minutes of Fame guest page and a link to your website. I'm truly honored that you were here with us today. Thank you for sharing such visionary messages that matter. That's it for today's show, folks. Wow. We'll see you next time. Bye.